Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the videos. Another paid request, this time for Nate. Thank you so much for that, Nate. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is for a Simpsons episode called The Last Tap Dance in Springfield. Now, this is during This is during season 11. And one of the questions Nate had with this was, what are my thoughts on season 7? Because apparently, based on him, he says that a lot of people felt this is when the show jumped the shark. This is the downfall of the show. I don't know about that. There's one episode I do absolutely hate. But when I look back at season 11, I do remember there were quite a few episodes I thought were fun. There was an episode that Mel Gibson was on, and him and Homer Simpson going back and forth. I remember having fun with that, liking Mel Gibson as an actor. There's one episode I remember with Bart having to take Ritalin, and then by the end he goes he's so paranoid about these satellites that he steals a tank. The Trails of Horror. I remember there was a fun parody on I Know What You Did Last Summer, where they accidentally kill Ned Flanders, and they dump his body, and then someone's come back. I remember there was a fun episode with a biker gang, and yeah, like John Goodman and Henry Winkler, the Fonz himself, doing voices for it. Like they stay at Homer's place and they actually enjoy Marge and how nice she is and how she cleans up after them. So then they kidnap her, and Homer has to go save her. I thought it was kind of a fun one, nice one with him and Maggie, where Homer's bowling. Uh, he decides to one reason or another he bonds with Maddie and actually takes Maddie bowling. And I just thought it was nice because there's not a whole lot of episodes with Homer and Maddie. I mean, because Maddie's a baby, for the most part she gets kind of left to the side. But yeah, to me there were not a whole lot of big Homer and Maddie episodes. So I thought that was a nice one where he's hanging out and bonding with Maddie, the youngest. I mean, it's not as good as the previous seasons. It's not as good as the golden years of The Simpsons. But I mean, I think it's better than some of the stuff of today's age. Like, I mean, there was one they're literally lecturing about Trump. I forget what the episode was, and all this other stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's better than the stuff today. Not every episode works game busters, but I mean, you can say that for any show in any season. But yeah, I had fun with this. I don't like the last episode of season 11, Behind the Laughter. I remember that one. That I know it's considered one of the best Simpsons episode. I think it's one of the worst. And I know it's going to sound stupid for the reasoning behind it, but even though I know it's a cartoon, even though I know, of course, it's fake because it's a cartoon, even though it's a ridiculous show with a lot of crazy things that people would easily die from and this and that, you still living vicariously through the characters within this universe. This rubber band reality, and it's still its own reality, it's still its own universe, it's still its own story. To then say, well, actually, and like Trails of Horror to me is going outside the box in a fun way, entertaining way. I did that was also the thought process in this, but the whole thing of, well, really, it's a TV show that Homer thought of, and they are a family, but they're also actors on the show. Something about that just bothered the fuck out of me. And yeah, I get it, it's a one off. It'd be like getting mad at a Treehouse of Horror episode. I know, but just something about that just bothered me, bugged me. I know some people say, oh, that should be the last episode. It's like, no, I'm sorry. The last episode of the showcase, yeah, it was a TV show all along. One show that did that well was Batman the Brave and the Bold. I will say. Maybe because it was a show that only lasted one. Here, I don't know. It's like I'm even with the within those Trio House of Horror episodes, they were still living their reality. Here it's like, oh, by the way, we're actors, and this is how we're filming. Something about that concept just bugged the fuck out of me, and I don't know how else to put it. So, but anyway, that's not what this is about. This is about uh, what Nate said is one of his favorite episodes, at least of the season, last tap dance in Springfield. And I have to say, I thought it was a fun enough episode. I mean, long story short, Lisa and the family go to the mall. Homer needs to get some glasses, but then he gets eye surgery. Marge and Lisa see this movie about the tango. Lisa wants to start learning how to dance. She's taking dance lessons. The teacher, who is a child star, definitely a take on Shirley Temple. Here is called Little Vicky. Lisa's not doing well, but then she doesn't want to pull out because she wants her parents to be proud of her. Professor Frink, who is literally a takeoff of Jerry Lewis from The Nutty Professor, says, well, I have this device, so with a percussion and clapping, you'll automatically dance. The shoes will move on their own. Meanwhile, Bart's supposed to go on this field trip with Milhouse, but Nelson the bully's there, so they leave. They go, well, wait a minute, we're going to be gone for like a week or so. We could go anywhere we want, and they go to the mall. I thought that was a fun subplot. Two kids behind the scenes in the mall when the mall is closed, all the the stuff that they can do. I thought that was fun enough. Some stuff that I personally enjoyed. Homer's watching a movie or a show, I should say, called the cyborg, the cyborganizer. The cyborganizer is pretty much RoboCop if he does paperwork. So a nice little RoboCop reference, and then they also make fun of the idea of retooling the show. Homer's like, wait, I gotta stay here before they retool the show. And then as he turns back, it's now in a different location, and RoboCop, or I mean, Cyborganizer has a kid, and Homer's like, yep, too late. I thought that was a fun take on how so many other shows they get retooled, and the people who did enjoy it, you lose those fans as well. So there's a lot of times that happens with shows is that they're not doing well in the ratings, but then you retool them, and so that the people who were watching, even they get mad, so even less people watch it. You don't gain any new fans, and you lose the fans that you had in the first place. That happens quite a bit. I'm sure the Simpsons guys got a lot of notes, at least initially, I'm sure, with the network on what they could and couldn't do. Like I said, it's always interesting when you look back on the old Simpsons, you look at just how Homer's voice has changed. How in the beginning he was trying to be a bit more of a Walter Matthau sound, and then it ultimately became Homer. How in the early years it was all about Bart Simpson. Like people may forget, it was Bart Simpson was the star. It was Bart's stories, Bart's merchandise. That's why Bart Simpson was the star of those Nintendo games. Bart Simpson had Do the Bart Man. I mean, Bart Simpson was popular, and nowadays people think of Homer now if they think of the Simpsons more so than Bart. I wonder if she was going to be honest, what would Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart, think about that? Like, what do you think about how initially, like, you and your character was the star, and then it became Dan Castellaneta, Homer. Maybe he's like, hey, I didn't pay a shitload of money. Doesn't matter. Like I said, they go to the mall. Homer does his eyes checked. And like, there's a bit where he's playing with the baby, and he doesn't realize it's not Maggie. That's how bad his eyes are. This is back when Homer could actually choke Bart. Nowadays, that's a big no-no. Back in the day, though, he could actually choke Bart, and that's how they check. It's blurry. Oh, much better. You know, with the optometrist thing. That's weird. Like, I mean, just thinking back today, the stuff they could do back then. Again, like choking a kid. I mean, that was one of the famous early images. Sorry about the bouncing. That was from early images of The Simpsons was Homer choking Bart. I wonder how many people nowadays would just find that horrifying, whether in reruns or so forth. Like I said, Lisa wants to dance, and when I was watching that movie within the movie, and I see people doing accents, it makes me wonder. I wonder how many of them could not do accents now. Does he have the whole thing with Apu being canceled, and Apu can't be a character anymore, and does does that mean nobody? Let me ask you a question. Does that mean anybody who's a voice actor cannot do accents? Sorry, you can't do a French accent. You have to be an actual French person to do the French accent. Sorry, you can't do a Spanish accent. You have to be an actual Spanish person to do the Spanish accent. Is that what we are now in terms of voice acting? I'm being serious. Is that where we are in terms of voice work? That's what it seems like. That whole Apu thing was just ridiculous, but anyway, won't go on that tangent. Well, I said the teacher at the school was Little Vicky, which is a definitely take on Shirley Temple, and they even show an old black and white film back in the day that again is as silly as some of those early Shirley Temple films. One of my favorite jokes is when the Bart and Milhouse are ready to go to the school, and Bart goes, "Well, just like my dad says," and it goes to a thought bubble, and Homer talks, and he then Bart runs off, and then Milhouse like, "Well, wait a minute, what did he say, Bart? What did your dad say?" Because it's like, Milhouse not going to see that thought bubble, so I thought that was naturally funny. And they're having fun in the mall with the candy, eating as much candy as they want, playing on the escalator, all sorts of stuff. Stuff as a kid you can relate to, maybe type of stuff. Not all, but some of the stuff you would want to do in a mall. I will say with Lisa, I don't mind her as a character. She doesn't really come off with the funniest episodes. But sometimes they can be emotional, like the one she had way back when with Dustin Hoffman as the teacher, with the note "You are Lisa Simpson," or some of the bits with her and Homer. That'd be some nice emotional episodes. Like Lisa is a character you to utilize to get some nice emotional moments. Once in a while, you get some funny stuff with her, but just like there's a bit here where the shoes are going crazy, and the little Vicky won't stop dancing, and Lisa's like, "Please stop." That little sort of begging, like, "Please stop," so my feet will stop moving. But I'm just saying, if you're asking me like the funniest episodes, they're usually not the ones that are Lisa centric. Emotional ones, that could be a different story. But still, I mean, not a bad episode. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites of the season. I think kind of middle of the road. It was okay. Like I said, there's some fun bits here and there. And a lot of times with these episodes of Simpsons, they go by pretty quick. They're only 20 some minutes long. I did think the ending was pretty fun. Well, the ending to both stories wasn't too bad. Because spoiler alert, the ending to the mall bit is the cops come in and they think it's a rat, so they get like a puma or a lion. I think a lion, and they put like a trap with an anvil. And they accidentally knock out one lion, so they do the other lion. And Bart and Milhouse have to throw a piece of yarn, and the thing eats it. And they think, oh well, that's that. And Chief Wiggum is walking away, and the other cop's like, wait a minute, Chief, aren't we going to do something about the lion? I said, done. It's like, let them deal with it. I guess I thought there'd be much more of a bigger, more. I thought there'd be more to an end to that subplot, like some type of escape, a Bar Millhouse to escape the mall or something. Not really. I mean, you don't really even see them leaving the mall. I mean, for all intents and purposes, these, or maybe they do it. I don't remember. I don't know. I'm trying to think now. Desert Sword, the last time we see is them walking away, and Millhouse's back is a bit messed up because of the lion. So I thought maybe this be some point where the two stories merge with each other, or I did the when I was talking about I enjoyed the ending. I would say it's more with the Lisa where she can't stop and Homer saves her, trips her. She's like, thanks, and Homer's like, I didn't think, I just acted. And Homer and Marge say something nice, and Lisa, loves her parents and such. A nice little sweet moment. And there's Professor Frink, and it's set up this device with a ball and a tail, or a cat toy, and he was going to do something with it as a weapon. And then Homer goes towards it, and you just hear screaming. Like I said, it's not a bad episode. It's fun enough. It went by a quick pace. The animation isn't too bad. I especially like the animation when the doctor warns Homer, "You need to put these eye drops for crust up. Your eyes will crust up." "Oh, I don't need them. I'm not going to pay anymore." As soon as he leaves, this crust builds up, and I know how that feels. I know how that feels because back to the day I got in a car accident where I think it was this eyeball. There was a cut, and the whole thing would crust it up. I had to put drops in it, and I would feel that crust. And at school, I'd be like, trying to pick at it or something, even though I shouldn't, because it was swollen shut. It was like this. It's like me trying to pick it up so I can open my eyes. But so I know how that goes, Homer. I know how that can go. Professor Frink, I don't even know if that character is even utilized anymore. I mean, it's been forever since I've seen a whole lot of the newer episodes. I don't know which characters are around anymore, which ones are not anymore. I have no idea. I really don't. I mean, I've always maintained that The Simpsons should have ended a long time ago. Just how can I miss you if you don't go away? And they've never gone away. So there's been no nostalgia of missing The Simpsons because how do you have nostalgia for something that's been on for some people their entire fucking life? And they're in their fucking 30s and it's still been around their entire fucking life. So, but they did enough apparently to still keep going and still somehow making money. I don't know. As I lean on the microphone, I don't know how they're still making money, but they are. Because I've said this before, I don't know anyone that still watches the show, like the new stuff. But I guess enough because they're still going. And I'm sure they pay those voice actors a shitload of money. But hey. So again, not a bad episode. Like I said, I like the little Robocop reference at the beginning. I like the setup with Homer needing to get his eyes checked and some of the stuff that happens with there. Thought that was pretty entertaining. The whole dance school thing is really the most exciting backdrop for me. Maybe that's why I wouldn't say I'm lukewarm. It's like, the whole dance thing stuff, like, whatever. Little Vicky, take on Shirley Temple, okay, whatever. I have no big feelings one way or another about it. Like I say, it wasn't the most hilarious backdrop for jokes. Okay, Lisa can't dance well. Even Ralph Wiggum is doing better than her. Okay, she won't even be allowed to pull the curtains. And Yurley Smith does a good job voicing Lisa. Don't get me wrong. I do like the Lisa Simpson character. Like I said, it's just that her, it's more of either use her for emotional moments or, like I said, she's not the funniest of the characters. But at the same time, I mean, I don't mind focusing on her from time to time because it breaks up the monotony of episodes. And I always liked any, even if it's a small moment, to see Homer be a decent to good dad. Like when Professor Frinks goes, "Oh wait a minute, this device, it was off." And Lisa's like, "Wait, you mean I danced all by myself?" And Homer's like, "What are you talking about? This is on the on position." And he realized he screwed up. Oh well, wait a minute, I was wrong. See, I looked at the wrong button. Just he's not being mean. He's not being He's not trying to be rude or mean. It's just him being dumb and then being regretful and wanting to do right by his daughter. He's dumb, but he's not a mean dad. So, little moments like that I do appreciate. Like I said, not a favorite episode. I would not. I would say it's probably middle of the road for the season. Those other ones like the Ritalin and the biker, I would say I like those episodes more than this, but they did not a bad episode. Decent enough what it needed to be. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later.